Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 and see if this particular phone is still worth buying in 2024. Now, the thing I would definitely tell you about this particular phone is that for a lot of people, this is still a very good phone with a lot of capability and a lot of quality. For one, I was never the biggest fan of the Flip series in general. I've always felt like they were a little bit overpriced, but I do think probably for the average person, you're probably okay with something like the Z Flip 4, but this isn't like a crazy great flagship of a phone. Like I never really quite understood these phones or the appeal of them because I feel like for the most part, Samsung could actually be doing a much better job with some of these other devices if that, kind of makes sense. So like you can do a better job at you can get a better phone than the Flip 4 for about the same price, maybe a little bit cheaper. Unless you really like that flipping thing, I would probably just recommend buying some other phones that I talk about in this video. So if you want to pick up those phones that I'll link down in the description, you can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Z Flip 4, you're getting basically like two screens on this particular phone. So you're getting that folding screen, that's basically just that cover display, which is 1.9 inches. It's a Super AMOLED display. Most people aren't probably going to care about that particular panel too much, but on other phones you're not really getting a cover display. The main display you're probably going to be looking at is that main display when it's unfolded, or when it's unfolded. It's a 6.7 inch foldable dynamic AMOLED display. Now with this particular panel, I will tell you, it's a good display. It's not a perfect display, but it is a really, really good display for what you're getting. It's a 120 Hz panel and it's a whole bunch display. Like it's a really good looking screen for the most part. But again, you have to remember this phone came out in 2022. The S22 of that year had a significantly better display than this thing. It got brighter, I think, but especially compared to the S22 Plus, S22 Ultra, those phones were giving you much better displays than this one. And because this is that foldable dynamic AMOLED display, it's not like the other AMOLED or OLED displays we were getting on our S22, like the dynamic AMOLED, all these other ones. Those are significantly better panels than this one. So that's why I look at this particular screen, and that's kind of how I feel about it. So for the most part, as of this point, the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 panel isn't bad, and I'm glad it has a 120 Hz screen, but it really isn't the greatest panel of all time, and that's kind of how I see this particular phone. Like you can do much better, especially for the price tag. I feel like this phone is very overpriced. On the bottom, you're getting a USB Type-C port, which is great. You're getting some other features built inside of it too, which is really cool. On the sides, it's built out of aluminum, which is nice. And on the back side, you're basically getting this, the frosted glass back, which is another very nice thing. I love having a frosted glass back. It's a really, really nice thing. And I was glad they were able to put it on their last couple generations because it is a very, very nice feature to have. It is easily one of my most favorite things going on for these particular phones. If you're able to go through and buy a phone like this, I'm very happy that you're able to go through and get that type of frosted glass back because it is a really nice thing going on for this particular phone. So there's still a lot of cool things to like about these devices. They're very good. And I do think this is another cool thing going on for this particular phone when it comes down to it. So from that side in and of itself, it gets a thumbs up for me on the exterior. But like I said, there's just some kind of weird things going on with this phone that I'm not the biggest fan of. But some highlights, it has IP certification, which is very cool for a foldable device. You're getting wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on this phone, which is another very, very cool thing going on for this particular phone. And it's 120 Hz display and everything like that. But like I said I want to drive this point home. On the exterior, you're going to be getting a better build on something like a Samsung Galaxy S22 of this particular year on a cheaper phone than this particular device. So that's just one of the highlights I want to throw in here. On top of that, when it comes into the camera setup, this is probably the one thing I look at with this particular phone that I feel like Samsung just does a little bit of a weirder job, not only with these flip phones, but also with their fold phones as well. So on the backside, you're getting a dual camera setup. This is a single 12 megapixel wide angle lens and a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and you're getting a 10 megapixel wide angle lens on the front. Now at the core, that doesn't sound like that bad of a camera, and it really is not a bad camera, right? It's a good camera, it has a lot of capability, a lot of good stuff going on with it, which is something I like a lot. But here's the thing you have to remember. With something like the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, this phone is giving you 4K at 60 on the back and 4K at 30 on the front. Even for 2022 standards, I feel like that wasn't really as good as the other phones that you could have gotten. So with this particular device, you were essentially getting, like as far as I can tell, you're getting a phone on the Samsung Galaxy S20, at the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 that probably could have been, a great camera for the most part, but this phone's camera wasn't as good as something as the Samsung Galaxy S22s of that year. And in fact, I don't think it was better than the Samsung Galaxy S21 of that year either. So that in and of itself was another big thing going on for this particular phone. Like if you were going through and getting an actual device of a camera, you again would have expected this camera to be a little bit of a better camera than what it was. There's no 8K on the back, there's no 4K 60 on the front, and there's no telephoto camera either. So that is another thing that was going on for this particular phone at that moment too. And when I looked at it, that was a problem that I kind of, had an issue with for the most part. So that in and of itself was another big thing. And when I look at this particular phone, that's kind of how I felt about it at that time. So keep that in mind. Again, it wasn't the biggest deal in the world, but that was kind of one issue that I was running into with this particular device. So that in and of itself kind of covers it up there for the most part. On top of that, this particular phone software is also good. There's anything that's similar between this and the Galaxy S22s of that year, this phone is going to be matching in line with that software as the Samsung Galaxy S22, as far as we can tell. It did have a better chipset than that phone, which was nice, but this phone's software is going to match in line with something like the Samsung Galaxy S22, which is perfectly fine. You can get this phone and still have a phone that's going to be supported with software with the One UI updates for a long period of time. But when we compare it probably against the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6 that's going to be coming out this year, it is kind of funny because that phone is probably going to be giving you a better experience on the Z Flip 6, probably by giving us 7 years of software and security updates matching in line with the S24. So if you're going to compare the Z Flip 4 against the current potential generation with the Z Flip 6, that phone is probably going to be giving you a better experience than this device. So once again, kind of keep that in mind. Not the biggest deal in the world, but One UI is still fine. You're still getting lots of good software updates and software experience on this particular phone, which I'm very, very happy about. There's so many features within One UI that make me very happy. But if I were to look at it, that's just one other small little thing that's going on with this particular phone when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. From the performance chipset inside, you're going to be getting that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now within this particular phone as well, this is another really good thing going on for this particular device when it comes down to it. So with something like the Z Flip 4, this phone with its chipset, with its RAM, with everything, it is actually a faster performing phone than something like the Samsung Galaxy S22. So I actually did think that this time this was the better chipset and the better performing phone because of the weirdness of the 8 Gen 1. Samsung was able to go through, they got the 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset inside of this phone, and that made this phone significantly better from that particular perspective. So if I was looking at a phone and I wanted the phone that was going to be giving me a better experience, a phone like the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 is going to be giving you the overall better experience than the Galaxy S22 if I were to compare it. So to kind of sum up this video, what I'll definitely tell you, I definitely look at a phone like the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 as being a good phone, right? It's a good phone. I don't have that much to hate on it. It's just when I compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S22, and that phone is, substantially better in a majority of ways. So I look at that particular phone and I think that one is the better one that a majority of people would end up buying, and I would probably recommend people to buy that one over this one, unless you really like that folding thing. If you really like the flipping mechanism of this phone, then maybe you should go ahead and buy that. But for every other person, that really doesn't make that much sense, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense for people to go and buy that phone over this one, if I'm being honest. So you might as well buy the Galaxy S22 when it comes down to it. So in terms of that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.